Hello, beautiful people. We've got our lovely Courtney Dillon, awesome healer and channel and everything else in between. And she is going to be channeling ALEXEI Navalny, along with the help of my son, who is in the afterlife, Erik. Now, first, I want to introduce you a little bit more to Courtney. She's a member of the Atlantic Scalar team. There's a tab at the very top.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be in this team. It's exciting.
Well, we're honored to have you. Courtney Dillon, in a mediumship session, I connect you with your loved one who has crossed over. I bring forth messages of healing, connection, and closure. I energetically connect with their energy and receive both clairvoyant images and words spoken to me as thoughts. My job is to convey these messages as clearly as possible. Often other friends and family show up during the session. A mediumship is a good place to connect with those who have crossed over and to receive guidance and clarity on life decisions. It's also possible that family will show up during an intuitive session, which we'll talk about in a minute, if healing is needed. Ultimately, I open up to receive messages that will assist your life and your healing at this time. Intuitive work. In an intuitive session, I will connect with your energy field to receive messages about where you are in your life and clarity around decisions. I receive messages as pictures and words from your prominent guides. It is useful for you to bring questions or areas of concern. Often questions will come up during the session prior to your asking them. In a session, I will look to the energetic root at any problem that you have. If an energetic pattern presents, we will work together to heal any energetic blockages in your field. Often issues present themselves as past lives or early childhood experiences that require healing, and Courtney does that. We will work together to heal the soul wound. Each session is uniquely tailored to you and what you most need at this time. A session will help you move forward with clarity and direction. So visit her at CourtneyDillon.com, but we'll also put.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, thank you for reading that.
Of course.
I was like, I don't remember what I wrote a long time ago.
No, you did good. You did good.
Yeah.
All right. So check her out, and we'll put her information not only in the description box, but also on the screen. All right. Hi, Erik. I love you.
He says, I love you, Mom.
Love you more. Do you have ALEXEI Navalny? I watched Navalny, the documentary. It was amazing.
I haven't seen it yet, which is, I feel like I should watch it after this, but we'll, yes, he's come in with Erik, and they're sitting at this, what looks like a kind of a mahogany table, and he's sort of sitting back.
Okay.
And he's right here, so I'll just kind of get out of the way and we'll get started.
All right. Let me give you a little bit of information, people. ALEXEI Navalny is a Russian opposition leader, lawyer, anti-corruption activist, and political prisoner. He died February 2024 at the age of 46 while serving a 19-year prison sentence in the Russian Arctic. Wow. So it was just, what do you think about the documentary? I mean, you died after it was published, I think, but.
Well, he says he's pleased to meet you today, and he's happy to be here to speak with you on behalf of his people, his family, his wife, and followers. He has a great deal to say. So you are asking about the documentary.
Yeah. Were you pleased with the documentary?
I am pleased. I feel they did, and the documentary is mostly, he smiles when he says that, accurate representation of my life. Yeah.
Okay. Have you crossed over? And if so, can you share with us how your life was taken? Who was behind it? I guess just if you want, just go ahead and tell what you would like to get off your chest, and in respect of transparency.
I have, as you say, crossed over. I am feeling peaceful and grateful for my life. I can see the larger purpose and know that my life was not in vain. I am grateful for my family and children. I died as many suspect, at the hands of those who do not want me to live. I was starved. He shows me hunger. He's like very
Okay.
hungry.
Yeah.
For many months prior to my death.
Was
This
that your decision? Was that a protest fast, or were you
No.
actually start?
No.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
I spent many months in solitude, and as a result, and was given little food. He shows me like a ration. Oh, it's awful. Actually, it's a ration, but it's like slop of some kind. Like,
Yeah.
it's in a little metal tin bowl. This provided little sustenance. He shows me his ribs and what looks like effects of starvation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awful. So who actually killed you? Was it the one in the documentary that admitted to it on the phone, thinking he was talking to somebody else?
Yes, indirectly, yes. Yes.
Who ordered your assassination?
It looks to me now that the person in charge or ultimately was responsible for my assassination, although I do not believe he had ordered it directly. That's interesting.
Are you talking about Putin?
See, yes.
Okay. So he did
He's
not.
showing me, okay, so I'll explain. He's showing me like a bunch of images in this prison camp. It looks like really, and it's very intense. And there are people, the guards there are not wanting him to live. But it looks like Putin, yes, but he's also showing me a group of what looks like military officials in the Russian government who ultimately are responsible for his death. But I do believe Putin is responsible for my death ultimately,
Yeah.
as
Well,
he is the person who he went to prison because of him. So that's why.
oh, okay. You were poisoned. Did Putin order the poisoning?
Yes.
And he did it with a nerve agent that gets out of the system real quickly.
This was a very painful experience, but ultimately I recovered.
Yeah.
It is important that we not so much focus on the circumstances of my death, because none of this will come as a surprise to anyone listening. Anyone listening, I believe, will suspect foul play and know that my death, know that Putin and the government of Russia is ultimately responsible for my death. It is more important in this interview to discuss the world stage and the corruption that the large scale, corruption that we find ourselves a part of.
Yeah. All right. I'll let you speak on that if you wish.
It is important to understand that Russia is part of a system of corruption in the world. I am simply a person who believes in change, who believes in the importance and possibility of a better world and a better country. When I think of Russia and the possibilities of Russia, I know that I ultimately played a small role in the liberation of its people. While I speak of Russia today, I recognize that there are many other people in other countries who are experiencing similar levels of poverty and oppression due to the corruption and at the hands of leaders who do not care about them, leaders who make unilateral decisions. It is important that my message reach out to those people who are interested in listening, for I am simply a messenger of hope today, even though the task is somewhat daunting. Those who are part of the resistance movement in Russia still have a voice, and their voice grows stronger each day. I am simply a man who did what I needed to do. I do not consider myself more courageous or smarter or more wise than anyone else. I simply did what I needed to do. There are those in Russia and elsewhere who are stepping up with similar fervor. It seems an unattainable goal to liberate the country, to rid the country of this cesspool of corruption, but it is a task that I believe will ultimately occur because justice will ultimately prevail. I am simply a man who cares for his country deeply and loves the people of my country deeply. Do not look at me as someone who is better than you, for you can choose to look at the world around you and stand up for what is right and for what is just. You can choose to do the same thing, even though it is a difficult choice. It is important to remember that we have a choice to live with courage and integrity.
You know, do you see any parallels in in our country, the United States, attacking political opponents with?
Unfortunately, I do.
Yeah. Do you think that's really what?
I see many parallels
Yeah.
in the United States with the level of corruption. It is difficult to imagine that you would match the level of Russian corruption. It is true that Russians at the moment have less freedom, but many in the United States are observing propaganda in their news and a level of corruption that is incomprehensible at first sight. They are becoming aware of the leaders who do not have interest in their own needs. These leaders on both sides do not directly address the needs of the people. He shows me as he's talking that leaders in our nation, he doesn't want for the safety of both of us.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be specific with names, but he says leaders in our nation take money in the back door, basically. Yeah.
It's almost like we're becoming a third world country, fighting off our political opponents by trying to put them in jail, just like what happened to you.
Unfortunately, this is a trend in many nations, not just the United States.
Yeah. Okay.
For most of the governments in the world are operating with a level of corruption that is somewhat unbelievable to me now as an observer of the world.
Has your martyrdom been, is that a part of your soul contract?
I do not consider myself a martyr.
Good.
I do not believe that word to be true of me.
Okay.
I am a man. I am a simple man. I believe in doing the right thing. I believe in justice. I believe in fairness. I believe in truth. I believe in equality. And because I
Yeah.
held these beliefs deeply, I decided to stand up for what was right and fair. And in doing so, I became a leader. This was not I did not understand this as part of my soul contract,
Yeah.
but now I am aware that it was part of my destiny, the path of my life, what in fact I came to do.
I wonder if Putin has watched the documentary.
He
Eric,
smiles.
yeah.
He smiles.
Eric, you think Putin has watched it? Probably not.
Despite what others will say, I do not consider Putin to be my enemy. This may interest many of you,
Yes.
for he is the enemy in one sense. He is the enemy of the people. He does not believe in what is right and fair and just. But I do not consider him my enemy. For if I were to consider him my enemy, I would give him more power than he deserves.
Ooh. Yeah.
And he does not deserve power.
Yeah.
Therefore, I consider him a weak link. He is not able to make correct decisions, and he uses brute force and brutality over his people by any means necessary. This is his way. But this is a sign of a weak man, not a strong man. And it is important we understand the distinction. For many of these leaders appear strong because they use tactics such as torture, brute force. They easily succumbed to corruption, taking money from such deals. But it is important to understand that these leaders are not strong.
Okay.
For you who are listening are the strong ones. It is simply deciding to stand up for what is right in your lifetime, because the world needs more of this. We are on the brink of disaster by all measures. It is important you hear my message and find the strength and courage within yourself. This is not an easy task, for some of you, it will mean standing up against those who are in power.
Yeah.
But this ultimately will be the task at hand. It may not come for a few years. For some of you listening will hear this and say, no, this is not something that will happen in my lifetime. But I can see clearly the trajectory that many of you will find yourselves in.
Okay.
You have to choose.
Yeah. It's up to us. Are you upset about how and when you passed away? And did you have any inkling that you were going to die? I guess if they were starving you, you probably did.
I am upset to leave my family. I am upset, but I find peace in the life that I lived. I am becoming more now. I am I am not upset to leave that camp. He's smiling because it was
awful. Okay. Now, do you support your wife carrying on your work to make Russia better? I kind of was confused earlier. I was thinking about who killed you, but I was thinking about the poisoning at that time. So we'll get to that later. But do you have a message and do you have words of support for your wife?
I deeply love and support my wife and believe in what she is doing. She is a strong woman, and I am grateful that she is carrying on, and despite difficult circumstances.
I hope
I
she's
support her fully, and he's actually watching over her because he does have some concerns about her safety.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Erik, you help, please. Okay, so in the documentary, the poisoning, you got sick on the flight to Moscow, but it looked like they traced it to you were in a hotel and the laundry was, you had laundry done, and they put in the seams the poison. And you wore that and it went through, it penetrated your skin. Is that the truth of what happened?
Yes, that is accurate rendering of the events as they occurred. This is interesting. He's showing me that this was a exit point for him,
Oh, okay.
but he decided not to take it.
So who did put the poison in the clothing and the seams, etc.? Was it one of Putin's men, generals, military
Yes.
attaché?
He's showing me it's some men who work for Putin, and they're putting it looks really awful what he went through. I'm
Yeah,
actually
a lot of pain.
surprised he lived.
Yeah, really. Oh my God. Did Putin order the poisoning?
Yes.
Okay. Wouldn't it have been better for your people if you had stayed in Germany? You could have led the opposition from there.
This was a choice I made. I do not regret my decision, even though I found myself in the circumstances of death.
Yeah.
It was important that I live in my country with my people.
Okay.
And I become an example of courage and freedom.
Right. Can you tell us briefly the current status of Russian politics with regards to Putin from your point of view now? And Erik, you can chime in anytime you want from your spirit perspective.
Unfortunately, I would not even refer to Putin as a government. He is a unilateral tyrant and decision maker.
Hmm.
He uses brutality to suppress any opposition. He is a brutal leader, but in truth, he is a weak man.
Okay.
The same tactics as when I was alive are still being used to the same degree today.
Okay.
It is important to know that this is not, nor will ever be, the true representation of the people of Russia.
Oh, absolutely not.
For the people of Russia do not agree to a large extent. The people of Russia do not agree with his tactics and feel that a new government is necessary.
Will he be replaced as president? I mean, can he be stopped at all?
It is my intention and wish that he is ultimately replaced as president in a new free. It's like he's showing me he needs everybody cleaned out. Like it's
Oh,
very,
it's
very
cesspool.
corrupt. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Just a
very
new
corrupt.
democratic. Well, how's that going to happen? It's got a huge military. The people are won't be able to stage any kind of coup. Anybody who's has tried to stage a coup has been killed or imprisoned.
He's
I mean,
smiling and he says, "Have you heard of the story of David and Goliath?"
well, that's true. Yeah.
It may not be now, it may not be this year, but ultimately the truth will win and freedom will reign, and the will of the people will create a new government based on democracy and fairness. I know that this will happen, even if it is not now, even if it is not next year.
Okay.
It is important that we know in our hearts what is right and just and fight for it always, even if conditions, even if external conditions do not look favorable.
Do you think your activism weakened Putin at all?
It is my hope and belief that my activism and my party served a part in the larger government, a more just and peaceful government of Russia. I am not under any illusion that I served a greater role than any other person in Russia, but I do believe that I served a role that I came here to do. It is important that people understand I am just a man who decided to do the right thing
We
when
need more of
given
you.
when given the chance, when given the opportunity. I held my convictions and still hold them today.
Is there anything you or Eric would like to warn us about Putin? Like what he and those under him may be up to right now in any way?
Erik says that Putin always has something up his sleeve.
Hmm.
Okay, let's see what he says. My warning is this: Putin is not to be trusted. It is important that we strengthen the sanctions against him and those under him.
Hmm.
It is important that he is weakened
Okay.
for the good of the world.
Yeah.
He will continue to use brutality,
Hmm.
violence, and force to suppress any opposition. He leads with an iron fist and will continue to do so.
Did the West prop you up so the West could destabilize Russia?
I do not understand the nature of this question.
Oh, I don't either. We go on to the next one. Okay. Oh, what percentage of the people, if any, do you think Eric or ALEXEI watched the documentary about your life?
I do not know percentages, but I see that there is growing interest in this documentary, and my hope and wish is that many will watch and know my story, not so they can know for any personal benefit to me, but so they can know the importance of the work that is being done.
Yeah. Okay. All right. From your viewpoint now, how will Russia develop in the next 20 years? Will there soon be an end to this war/criminality?
When I'm laughing because Erik said he's no psychic. Sorry. Okay. When I look to the future, from my perspective, I do believe that there will be an uprising and an overthrowing of this government.
Good.
It
Okay.
may not happen in this year, but I see a likely probability in years to come.
Good. How many of the world leaders are cloned? Are any of them cloned?
I do not understand the nature of this question.
Eric, are any of the world leaders cloned? Like perfect copy?
They don't really want to get into that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. They're just,
Okay.
that doesn't have anything to do with what they're talking
Yeah.
about.
How do you see the war with Ukraine resolving, Mr. Navalny?
This is an unfortunate and corrupt war on many levels.
Yeah.
There are many world leaders who are benefiting from the invasion of this beautiful land. I believe that there will be a resolution, but it comes at a huge cost to the people. I stand with the people of Ukraine as well.
What can Europe learn about their own way of reacting to this conflict?
It is important right now, as I speak, that I speak to those people who are not in positions of power. Look to when you look at your leaders, do you see them operating fairly and justly? Do you see them operating with the interests of people at hand? Do you see them operating and reacting to wars in a fair way? If not, there is corruption in your government too. And it is important that we begin to realize the level of corruption on the world stage. It is not simply Russia.
Oh, no.
For it is many, many countries,
including the US.
Mm-hmm.
What is Russia's collusion with Iran?
There is a relationship. It is important to understand that the level of corruption in Iran as well, it's like they're they are joined, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no doubt. How direct is Russian collusion with Trump? I don't want to get into that. That was all disproven by the Steele dossier and all that stuff. So, are any American and foreign, unless you want to say anything about that, Erik, or I mean, if it's important.
No, I don't think okay. So.
Are any American and foreign politicians secretly working with Putin and his administration to enrich themselves or create chaos just to control their respective country's population? American or foreign politicians? You don't have to name any.
Unfortunately, yes. So what he shows me, and he's showing me this in pictures, what he shows me is leaders on a stage, and often they're like acting like they're fighting with one another, or they don't agree with each other's policies. But behind back in the back rooms, they're shaking hands. And so this is part of the illusion, and this is what creates so much confusion. And he wants people to really dig deeper to understand who their politicians are, where their money, where he's talking about people, where their money is going, like their tax money, where is it going? Yeah. It's important to start to understand these understand this, because we will start to understand the corruption that is part of what's happening in the world right now.
All right. I think we'll close this part one. We're going to have a much shorter part two, but you guys be sure you subscribe so you don't miss when we post it. Thank you, Courtney Dillon at CourtneyDillon.com. If you'll just hang out for a little bit, Mr. Navalny, I just have a few more questions for you for part two. And thank you, Erik, for your help.
He says, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.